Our final presenter for the Americas session is Joe Hebert, who's the president and CEO of Outcrop Silver and Gold.
Yeah, I'm going to talk about Outcrop's flagship property, the Santa Ana project in North Tolima in Colombia. It has a rich colonial history. At one time, it was the highest grade, some of the highest grades reported in the entire Spanish Empire. We have a very high grade silver discovery, and we think we're putting a future mine together for Santa Ana. We also are approaching an important milestone is we're moving from the discovery stage to the resource stage, which we'll expect we will be valued higher with that resource than we are now. We have an internal guidance that our expectations before the end of year 2022 is 45 to 55 million ounces, silver equivalent ounces at 550 to 750 grams equivalent silver per ton. I'll be making forward statements that, of course, refers to the impact of risk. Company snapshot, we have 160.2 million shares outstanding, 245.5 million fully diluted. I believe regarding cash, we had 2.6 million at the mid-July. Our last financing was a prospect financing that closed in March for 6.9 million. Eric Sprott owns 16.9% of the company. I think he's participated in the last three placements we've had, including taking 30% of the financing that closed in March. We have 10 to 12% in institutions, and management owns 15% of the company. I've had over 36 years experience as a geologist in almost all aspects of economic geology. Importantly, we were able to hire Guillermo Hernandez away from Lundin Mining from Fruta del Norte. It's a very timely hire, not only because he's an excellent geologist, but also because he's well-versed in resource estimation. So he's working internally and then externally with the independent QP we're bringing on board. So why Outcrop? Santa Ana is the highest grade silver project in Colombia by far. As a Spanish colonial camp, it mined up to 17 kilograms over 1.4 meters. Ourselves, we have drilled 10.8 kilograms over a meter, 7.6 kilograms over 1.85 meters. Recently, some better widths, 2.2 kilograms over 6.93 meters and 1.7 kilograms silver over 8.97 meters. It's a world-class project. We've got over 60 kilometers of veins. In detail, each of those kilometers of veins actually represent 3 or 4 veins over about a half a kilometer to a kilometer interval. But really, it's that kind of vein system is getting up in the class of some of the major camps in Mexico, like Fresnillo or even Guanajuato. Less than 10% of the projects has been tested. We're going to put out what we call an upward scalable resource by the end of 2022. By upward scalable, we'll be continuing to drill with 2 to 3 rigs after the assay cutoff for the IQP, and hopefully do a revised resource report in 2023. Pretty much the whole technical group are ore finders, and in particular with the experience in Colombia and Colombians, we have very strong social programs that have allowed us to maintain social license and an ongoing, continuing intensive drill program without any problems. Just a quick overview, it's 100% owned, over 36,000 hectares. It has highway access. It's essentially a drive-up property through the town of Alon. Grid power, including a major transmission line on part of the project, water that can be developed on the project. So very strong community support and excellent security conditions. Just for an aspect of the drilling and the grade it represents of 170 holes with significant intercepts, we're averaging 1,580 grams equivalent silver per ton. That's almost entirely gold and silver, about 110 silver to 1 gold. 90% of the value is in the silver and the gold, and we do have some zinc and lead that's significant locally. Near term, we're drilling along about 18 kilometers length. Just a rule of thumb for our internal work regarding and looking forward to the resource, we're putting together about between 4 and 5 million silver equivalent ounces for each kilometer vein zone we drill. It's growing discovery with the bonanza grades. We now have actually 13 high-grade shoots, 8 near-term targets, everything outcrops. The ore shoots, quote, ore shoots are fairly compact, in a fairly compact area, about 4 kilometers by 1.2 kilometers. You can just see on the right some of the significant quite impressive intercepts, up to 10.7 kilograms over a meter of 6.4 kilograms. And actually, recently, for the last 3 months, we've had beat our best project hole to date, including what hole we released yesterday of 8.97 meters of 1,651 grams silver equivalent per ton. It's a narrow vein system. It's averaging about 0.7 to 0.8 true thickness. It still needs a little bit more modeling to get a more firm true thickness. But one distinct advantage of Santa Ana is that wherever the veins are high angle, they're usually close spaced packages. You can composite the veins and the intervening wall rock. And in this case, for Roberto Tovar shoot, come up or retain 8 meters true thickness at 450 grams equivalent silver per ton. We were working on this, the compositing aspect, as we go into the resource report, but if we can composite about 15% of the veins by volume, we'll increase the true thickness 2 times. This is the this area of active exploration on this southeast part of the project and what's highlighted are the historic mine areas. We're anchored to the north by the Royal Santa Ana mines that the Spaniards produced the stellar grades out of. And then to the south, we have the Frias mine. The Frias mine itself produced 7.8 million ounces of silver at 1.3 kilograms silver recovered grade. And really, the Frias is no bigger than any one of our shoots in terms of footprint or depth. And we look at that as an analog for potential for the 13 shoots we've discovered. In detail, this is at the recon scale, you basically have a vein zone. We have a single line, but in detail, we find that the vein zones are composed of 3 to 5 subparallel veins within a zone. As we come south, we're starting to see a little bit thicker vein thicknesses. The Aguilar vein, the Maris vein, they're more like 3.5 meters wide and traceable for over a kilometer. So we talk about ore shoots, particularly in mesothermal systems. But if you compare, this is the same scale, Outcrop Royal Santa Ana to Vislas Tajitos. If you look at, if you compare the two at the same scale, you know, the blue and a lot of the green is not going to come out of the ground at Vislas Panuco. So we really have a similar configuration of ore shoots for the high grade. Also, you can kind of see the drill density. All the mineralization actually goes to surface. All mineralization is open at depth. And it has very excellent grade contours for a future mine scenario. We have a weighted average grade of 1,580 grams equivalent silver per ton over 0.76 meters. If we just take a gross average, those weighted average holes down to up to 1.5 meter mining width, it comes up arithmetically with 800 equivalent grams silver per ton. Just as a quick comparison to Visla, they're only at 363 grams equivalent silver per ton in their resource. This is just a quick vein comparison. I'll just talk briefly, compare. We like to say that Outcrop is exploring and drilling the veins that Silver Corp is successfully mining. If you look at just the top tier yellow, average vein width, we're at 0.7 to 0.8. Silver Corp Ying Mine 0.7 to 0.8. That compares to Silvercrest Las Chispas at 1.75, and Visla Panuco at 3.2 to 3.6 in vein width. Grades are variable, but again, if you look at the weighted average grade we have now versus the weighted average grade that Visla had pre-resource, they effectively diluted their weighted average grade 26% to get to the 363. If we do that same with our weighted average grade, we're still up over almost 1.2 kilograms silver equivalent per ton. Narrow veins have to be mined with methods that preserve grade. Frequently, that's done by race mining, where mine ore and waste or vein and wall rock is mined in 2 separate cycles of blasting. Las Chispas is also doing that, narrow down to stopes as low as 1.5 meters width, and again, significant race mining, but mechanized with small equipment of 1.4 meters width. In any case, these kind of relatively narrow but extremely high-grade veins can produce silver at very low all-in sustaining costs of around $7. This just is an illustration of internal dilution. It's just a gross estimation based on average width and weighted average grade. So if we look at mining methods of our average width of 0.76 and the weighted average grades of 1,580, if you do 1.2 meter shrink stopes, we would still, our number would still dilute to a kilogram. If we mechanize to 1.5 to 2 meter stopes, I use that number because that is what ZGen is using in the Brutica mine to the north of us. That's an arithmetic 800 to 600 grams. If you ratio in everything entirely, we have 1.3 kilograms, and the balance of methods is still about a kilogram. Just for an illustration quickly of ratio mining, it's selective, but it's mechanized. This is actually a page from Silver Crest Las Chispas feasibility study. It's a 1.4 meter wide single boom jumbo. The process for preserving grade is drilling out the waste first, subsequently drilling out the ore. The waste is just used typically for a working platform as you mine upwards, but instead of having the straight line dilution of this much ore in this much stope, it's really a 12 to 15% mining dilution as long as you have good ground, which we appear to do. So just in summary again, Outcrop, Rice Santa Ana, we're a team of ore finders. We've done it in the past, we'll do it again. We have a rapidly growing high quality discovery. There's over 2.8 kilometers of cumulative length when we add the chutes together. We have a world-class system, 60 kilometers of vein zone, which are really composed of 3 to 4 veins within each length of or with each cumulative distance. High grade, 170 drill intercepts at 1,580 grams equivalent silver per ton over 0.76 meters. Substantially de-risked. I think we have this is a bit. We now have 274 core holes and 34,000 meters worth of drilling. A very strong social license, supportive community, innovative social programs, and fast permitting. We think we're building a mine, which the first reflection will be the internal resource the compliant resource we put out at the end of the year. Again, we expect, and as internal guidance, we're given 45 to 55 million silver equivalent ounces at between 550 and 750 grams equivalent silver per ton. And we think we're significantly undervalued, and we should see a substantial change in valuation once we're measured by millions of ounces times a market value or an enterprise value per ounce. Catalysts, we expect a good news flow. We're continuing to drill with 2 or 3 rigs a month, usually averaging 2,700 meters a month. We are coming in and doing more detailed resource delineation to at least inferred. So that'll be high percentage results with good values since this delineation. We will drill 8 near term. We'll drill near term some very high grade targets. All the mineralization outcrops. Basically, you put in a trench, you sample fabulous gold and silver, and you drill it. We will be drilling down by the Frias Mine Group, which produced 7.8 million ounces, 1.3 kilograms silver per ton. The biggest catalyst, of course, in terms of potential value, increase in potential increase in value will be the resource we report. And we do, we will have an assay cutoff sometime in probably mid to late October, but we will continue to drill a portfolio of high quality targets and hopefully have a revised compliant resource report in late 2023. We have some other interesting vein systems that we're bringing forward by priority. Basically, it's how quickly they can come to title and drill permit. We have a very strong target in our Helia project. From some detailed sampling and mapping of old underground workings, we have a 200 meter by 200 meter area of about 3.8 meters at 22 grams gold per ton. We have the Majama district, which is about 110 square kilometer footprint of a gold biased vein system, but again at very high grades, 222.5 grams gold, 220 grams silver. Coming along a bit slower, we'll probably be in our Helia and Scout drilling first. And then we also bring forward some joint ventures. We have our Orobeja project, which immediately adjoins Agnico and Newmont Orosaurus Anza joint venture. We think logically that those joint venture companies need our ground for big company target. And my contacts are there. I try to answer most phone calls. Otherwise, hit me on an email and I'll reply. And thanks everyone for your attention.
Perfect. Thank you very much, Joe.